Okay, first step. You see how we're using a piece of wood to jack up the car? That's for added inches. That's going to allow us to get this jack stand underneath in the right spot, because sometimes your jack might not have the proper height to reach the lowest setting on the jack stand. So now you know. Also, you want to make sure you're in that little divot in the jack stand right there with the proper part of your car. So this charger has got little, you see that indentation right there? So that's the jack point. You have one here, and then you have one at that back end, and then on parallel sides. So there's 4. I'll do a video on the jack points too for this car, because there's a couple more. Alright, we loosened these before we even jacked the car up. That way we had leverage to do so. Now we can just take them off by hand because they're already loose. Alright, got the tire off. You might want to take this time to clean the metal surface right there, or inside of your tire, or the front of the rotor right here. Okay, next step, 13mm socket on the caliper bolt. And you're also going to need a either adjustable wrench, or let's see what it is. It's almost 3/4. I don't know. This comes in handy good. So, adjustable wrench. Just keep it held down while you break it. I broke both of those with the breaker bar, and now you can just see I have the socket sitting on there because I can turn it by hand. So I'm just using my left hand to hold the nut in place while I turn it by hand. And we've already taken the bottom bolt off, and then we're just going to set the caliper part, which is just this part. This is the bracket, so we're going to leave that on there. We're going to take this caliper part and put it on this piece of wood that's being held up by a bucket. So you can either flip the bucket upside down or leave it right side up and just put some wood across it. We're pretty clean. We cleaned off the boot here, cleaned off the front of the piston, we cleaned off the back side right here and a little bit here. Now we're going to put some grease. Put some on the back side here, I'm going to put it on the boot and on the front of the piston, and I'm going to go back and do that more liberally. Alright, we've also put some, after we cleaned the pads here, we've put some the caliper grease on the back side of the pad. You don't want it on the front side, no, it's just on the back side. Also in the little clip here, I put some on the top, again just a little bit because you don't want it getting on the rotor. So a little bit in that little slot where this thing is going to be moving. Also a little bit on the underside. On the top side, I just did it on in the little groove there. I didn't worry about getting it, behind here. Although that will help with noise, to cut out some of the noise. But hopefully this is going to be enough to cut the squeal out. So we put a little bit around the edges there. Again, just be careful not to do too much because you don't want the heat buildup from driving the car and braking to push any grease onto the actual rotors. So just keep that in mind. Just do thin layers like that, and mostly around where the actual compression is going to be, right there. Like, you don't need it over here, you just need it where the compression is going to be. And okay, we've got the pads back on, the lube in all the places, again on the little clips, and then on the little pieces of the pad right there that go into the clips so they can move. The back side of the pad, and back side of the caliper, and caliper boot and piston. If you do get any grease on the actual rotor, just clean it off with some alcohol or brake cleaner on a paper towel or something. Just squirt it on the paper towel first and then come get it off. But of course it would probably be down here somewhere, so just get it off and you should be good. So now we're going to put the caliper back on, If the piston is too far out, all you need is either a C-clamp, or this is actually a compressor tool itself, and you just, stick it in there and keep screwing it until it pushes the piston back in. You stick this part in that inside of the piston and then just keep screwing and it will push it back in. I'll put a link for this and everything you see down in the description. So, okay, I almost forgot. You can also lube up the little slide pin boots too, right there around that. That's actually rubber right there. You can lube that up. And I've already put the bolts back in. We'll just hand tighten them in right now. You can put blue Loctite on those, just a medium strength if you want. I'm not going to this time, but that would be a smart thing to just do a little bit of blue Loctite. I'll put a link for that in the description. And of course there's one down here too, so make sure that you lube up that little pin boot and clean it off first and just lube it up. Okay, actually another little tip here. When you've got the caliper off, you want to move this slide pin and just move it by the nut here. And if it's not moving freely, you're going to need to pull this pin all the way out, and then you're going to need to re-grease that. That's probably won't be an issue for most people, but if that is not moving in good, or if this little rubber boot here is cracked, you're going to need to replace that, and you're going to need to re-grease what's inside this right here. But this one is in real good shape, so we don't have that issue. So that's just another tip. So check that on both sides, on the top and the bottom. Make sure that the rubber's in good shape and it's also flexing properly. Alright, these are 44 foot-pounds, and you need, again, to hold that nut while you're applying it. So it's a little tricky, but not that bad. So lowest setting on this is 25, so we add 19 to that and we get 44. Alright, putting the wheel back on. Use your socket as an aid. We're going to go in a star pattern, so we're going to get it fairly tight and then go to here, into here, into here, into here. That's how you always want to do wheels, is in a star pattern. Alright, we've got it fairly tight just by using the socket and our hand, and we did it all in a pattern so it looks even. So now we're going to take it off the jack stand. We're going to lower it just enough into where the tire won't spin anymore. At that point, then we can put on the torque, which is 110 foot-pounds. And then when the torque is on there, after we did that in a star pattern, then we're going to let the car all the way down. Car's not all the way down, but we're still getting enough torque to get to 110. Alright guys, last step, just push on the brakes and make sure you have pressure. You might have to do it a few times. And that's it. Thanks for watching. You guys did a good job, I'm sure. Please let me know if you have any questions or anything else you want to say hey. And I got a lot more stuff coming, so if you want to stick around, you know what to do. And I'll see you guys later.